Samira Calder had mastered the kind of smile that looked polite from far away and felt like a locked door up close. She wore it now as she crossed the bright lobby of Hartwell and Crow Media, a glass and steel tower tucked between a bakery and a bike shop in downtown Portland. Portland without the postcard mood, just clean sidewalks, winter sun, and the steady churn of people who always had somewhere to be. Samira had somewhere to be, too. She had a client pitch in 40 minutes, a slide deck in her bag, and a calendar that treated lunch as an optional rumor. The only thing she didn't have was patience. Especially not for Zariah Hale. Zariah stood near the security desk, balancing a cardboard drink tray in one hand and a messenger bag in the other, as if she'd been born juggling everyone else's expectations. She wore a mustard yellow scarf and a look of calm that always struck Samira as suspicious. Zariah's hair was clipped back in a loose twist, a few strands escaping like they had opinions. She was talking to the guard in that friendly, bright way she had. Like the world was a place that returned kindness in equal measure. Samira tried to angle toward the elevator bank without being seen. It was childish. She knew it. It also felt necessary, like avoiding stepping on a crack. Too late. Zariah turned, spotted her, and lifted her chin just a little. Not a greeting, not a challenge. Something in between. Zariah didn't do outright hostility. She did careful words and helpful suggestions that made you feel like a clumsy guest in your own life. Samira, Zariah said, stepping closer. Morning. Zariah, Samira replied. Her voice came out clipped, like a page being torn neatly from a notebook. Zariah looked at the drink tray. I grabbed an extra black coffee by mistake. Do you want it? Samira's first instinct was to say no, even though her brain was running on fumes and principle. She didn't want charity. She didn't want Zariah to be right about anything, ever, including caffeine. But then the elevator doors opened with a soft chime and a few employees poured out, laughing about something. Samira saw the time on her watch and did the math. She could refuse and then buy her own coffee upstairs and waste 8 minutes she didn't have. She reached out, took the cup, and nodded once. Thanks. Zariah's eyebrows rose in mild surprise, as if Samira had just performed a magic trick. They walked to the elevator together because there were only 2 elevators for the first 15 floors, and everyone funneled through the same stainless steel doors. It was like being forced into a small, moving confessional. Zariah pressed the call button. They waited in silence. Behind them, someone in a suit talked too loudly into a headset. The lobby smelled faintly of cinnamon from the bakery next door. Samira took a sip of coffee. It was exactly right. Of course it was. I'm going up to 12, Zariah said, as if information could be neutral. I'm going to 12, Samira replied, and immediately regretted saying it like a correction. Zariah's mouth tightened, then relaxed. Right. The pitch team. Samira shifted her bag higher on her shoulder. Yes. The doors opened again. They stepped in. 2 other people followed. An older man in a plaid coat and a young woman with an armful of rolled posters. It should have been a normal elevator ride. 15 seconds of floating and then freedom. Instead, the elevator shuddered. Not a dramatic movie lurch. Just a small unpleasant hiccup, like the building itself had swallowed wrong. The lights flickered once. The floor indicator flashed between 3 and 4. Then the car stopped so smoothly it took Samira a second to realize they weren't moving anymore. The older man frowned at the panel. The poster woman shifted her grip. Zariah leaned forward, pressed the door open button, then the close button, then the 12 button again, as if repeating the request would convince the elevator to cooperate. Nothing. Samira felt her stomach tighten. Are we stuck? The older man cleared his throat. Probably a minor halt. They'll reset it. The poster woman let out a small laugh that sounded more like a squeak. I have a meeting in 10 minutes. Zariah pressed the emergency call button. A tinny ring sounded. Then a voice came through a speaker. Building services. This is Louise. Zariah exhaled like she'd been holding her breath. Hi, Louise. We're in elevator B. It stopped between floors 3 and 4. There was a pause. Copy that. How many people? 4, Zariah said. It's stable but it won't move. Another pause. Longer. Then Louise's voice returned. Careful. Okay. We're going to take a look. Stay calm. We'll get you out as soon as we can. Samira leaned closer to the panel. How soon? Luis hesitated. We've got a power issue in this section. It might take a while to bring the system back safely. A while, Samira repeated. Zaraya tried again, gentler. Can you estimate? Luis sighed quietly, like he wished he could rewrite the day. We'll update you. For now, conserve phone batteries and stay where you are. The ventilation should keep running. The call clicked off. Silence settled, thick and awkward. The elevator light stayed on, a little too bright. The air was cool but not cold. Samira looked at Zaraya. Zaraya's expression had shifted, still calm, but now in a focused way, like she was already making a plan. Samira hated that. She hated that Zaraya looked useful. The older man spoke first. Well, we wait then. The poster woman pulled her phone out and began typing frantically. Samira checked her own phone. 1 bar of service. She opened her calendar, stared at the pitch time like staring could delay it. She tried calling her manager. The call failed. Of course. Zaraya lifted her phone, typed a quick message, and held it near the top of the elevator door. Seemed like she was trying to coax a signal out of thin air. Then she lowered it with a resigned nod. No service? Samira asked, even though she already knew. Barely, Zaraya said. Text might go through eventually if we keep trying. Samira tightened her grip on her bag strap. This is unbelievable. The poster woman's eyes were glassy. I can't be trapped. I hate small spaces. Zaraya turned toward her immediately, voice steady. What's your name? Indigo, the woman whispered. Okay, Indigo, Zaraya said. Let's do something practical. Sit down if you can. It helps. We have air. The lights are on. We're not in danger. Samira watched Zaraya guide Indigo to the corner, where she could lean against the wall. Zaraya crouched, speaking quietly, not patronizing, just present. Samira's irritation flared, hot and irrational. She didn't want to need Zaraya. She didn't want anyone else to need Zaraya, either. Still, Indigo's breathing slowed. Zaraya stood and looked at the older man. And you? Ed, he said. Edward if you want. Zaraya nodded. Ed. Great. We'll keep an eye on how we're all feeling. Then she looked at Samira. Samira lifted her chin. Don't. Zaraya blinked. Don't what? Don't look at me like I'm going to fall apart, Samira said. Zaraya's face didn't harden, but something shifted behind her eyes. I wasn't. Samira scoffed softly and turned toward the doors, as if she could force them open by glaring. Minutes passed. Then more. The floor indicator stayed frozen. The hum of ventilation continued, a steady reminder that the building was still breathing. Indigo asked, what if they can't fix it today? Ed answered with unwanted optimism. They'll fix it. Samira checked her phone again. No signal. She imagined the conference room upstairs, the pitch team waiting, her manager's disappointed frown. She imagined being blamed for something she couldn't control. It was a familiar, bitter flavor. Zaraya sat on the floor with her back against the wall, hands folded on top of her bag. She looked like someone waiting for a bus. Samira didn't sit. Sitting would mean accepting this was happening. After an hour, the speaker crackled. Elevator B, Luis said. We're still working on restoring stable power to the lift controls. We may need to coordinate with the city utility. I'm sorry. How long? Ed asked, raising his voice. Luis's answer came slower, cautious. It could be several hours. If conditions change, we'll update you. Several hours. Samira felt the words land like a weight. The pitch was gone. The morning was gone. Her day was dissolving and there was nothing she could do except watch. Indigo began to cry quietly, shoulders shaking. Zaraya moved to her again. Hey, she said soft. It's okay. We're going to get out. Indigo wiped her face. I'm embarrassed. Don't be, Zaraya said. Your body is trying to protect you. That's not embarrassing. Samira looked away. She didn't want to be impressed. She was anyway. Time shifted from minutes to chunks. The elevator became a small world with its own rules. Conserve battery, ration water, take turns sitting, talk softly so the space didn't feel smaller. Samira eventually sat, too, because her legs started to ache and stubbornness didn't change physics. Zaraya rummaged in her messenger bag and pulled out a granola bar, slightly crushed. "I have snacks," she said. "Not a feast, but something." Ed chuckled. "You came prepared." Zaraya smiled faintly. "I forget to eat sometimes. So I keep backups." She offered the granola bar to Indigo first, then broke another one in half and handed a piece to Ed. She looked at Samira last. Samira hesitated. Taking Zaraya's coffee was one thing. Sharing food felt like a truce, and Samira had made a career out of never giving those away for free. Zaraya didn't push. She simply held the bar out, patient. Samira took it and said, "Thanks," in a voice that sounded less sharp than before. Zaraya nodded, as if that was enough. They ate slowly. The sweetness grounded Samira more than she wanted to admit. A few hours later, Indigo's phone buzzed. A weak vibration that sounded loud in the confined space. Indigo's face lit up. "I got a message. My roommate asked where I am." Zaraya leaned in. "Tell her you're safe and stuck in an elevator. Ask her to call building management and keep checking for updates." Indigo typed with shaking thumbs. "Okay." Samira watched Zaraya like she was watching someone solve a puzzle. Zaraya was practical, but not in a loud way. She didn't claim control. She just found the next sensible step and did it. Samira realized, with a twist of discomfort, that this was part of why she and Zaraya clashed. Samira was fast. She took up space. She drove things forward with force and confidence because if she didn't, people would step over her. Zaraya was steady. She made room. She moved with a quiet certainty that made Samira feel like a storm someone had decided to wait out. In the office, that difference turned every collaboration into friction. In the elevator, it was oddly helpful. As the afternoon crept toward evening, the light in the elevator seemed to shift from workday bright to too bright for how tired everyone feels. Ed dozed off for short stretches, chin dipping to his chest. Indigo stayed seated, hugging her knees, calmer now but worn down. Samira tried to stretch her legs without bumping anyone. Her phone was at 12%. She had one unsent email drafted to her manager, sitting in her outbox like a trapped bird. Zaraya's phone was at 9%. She turned it off completely. "Saving it for emergencies," she explained. Samira should have done the same. She didn't. Letting her phone go dark felt like surrender. At some point, when the silence grew heavy, Zaraya spoke without looking directly at Samira. "You know," Zaraya said, "we don't have to keep doing this." Samira frowned. "Doing what?" "This," Zaraya said, gesturing vaguely, careful not to knock into Ed's shoulder. "The constant pushing." Samira felt her spine stiffen. "I'm not pushing." Zaraya turned her head slightly. "Samira, you treat me like I'm here to ruin your day." Samira scoffed. "You do a fine job of that without trying." Zaraya's expression stayed composed, but her voice sharpened a little. "That's not fair." Samira laughed once, short. "Oh, and you're the fairness judge now?" Zaraya's fingers curled around the strap of her bag. "No. I'm just tired. And we're stuck. And I think we should stop wasting energy being awful to each other." Indigo shifted nervously, glancing between them. Ed opened one eye, then closed it again as if deciding not to get involved. Samira swallowed the first thing she wanted to say. The elevator felt smaller when she spoke angrily. The air seemed to thicken with it. Zaraya continued, quieter. "I'm not your enemy." Samira stared at the brushed metal doors. In them, she could see a distorted reflection of herself, jaw tight, shoulders tense. She looked like someone bracing for impact. She was. Because if Zaraya wasn't her enemy, then what was she? A coworker who got praised for being a team player. A person who listened well. A person clients liked. A person who made Samira feel like her sharp edges were unnecessary, and that terrified her, because Samira's sharp edges had kept her safe. Samira spoke carefully. "You always correct me." Zaraya blinked. "I don't." "You do," Samira said, voice lower. "In meetings. In emails. You phrase it like it's helpful, but it makes me look careless." Zaraya's eyes widened, then softened. I didn't know that's how it felt. Samira let out a breath that sounded almost like a sigh. You act like you're above the office politics. Like you're just nice. And I'm the one who looks bad if I'm not. Zaraya was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I'm not above anything. I'm just trying to do my job without feeling like I have to fight all the time. Samira's throat tightened. Some of us don't get that option. Zaraya's gaze held hers now, steady but not harsh. Why not? The question was gentle, but it hit like a spotlight. Samira could have snapped. She could have changed the subject. She could have made a joke. Instead, because there was nowhere to go, she told the truth. My last agency, Samira said, I got hired as the youngest account lead. Everyone acted supportive until I started winning. Then suddenly everything I did was too much or too direct. I learned that if I didn't speak first, someone else would speak over me. Zaraya nodded slowly, absorbing it. That sounds exhausting. Samira shrugged, but it wasn't convincing. It is what it is. Zaraya's voice softened further. I think you're good at your job. Samira blinked. Praise from Zaraya felt like stepping onto a floor you expected to be slippery and finding it stable. Zaraya added, and I'm sorry if I made you feel undermined. I honestly thought I was helping. Samira stared at her hands. You were. Sometimes. Zaraya's mouth curved into a small smile, not triumphant, just relieved. Okay. I can try to change how I do that. Samira hesitated, then said, I can try to not assume you're doing it on purpose. Indigo exhaled audibly, like she'd been holding her breath through the whole exchange. That was very grown up. Ed chuckled. I'm proud of you too, and I don't even know you. Zaraya laughed quietly. Samira surprised herself by smiling. The elevator didn't move. The situation didn't change. But the air felt easier to breathe. As evening settled outside, unseen but felt in the way everyone's energy dipped, the speaker crackled again. Elevator B, Louise said. Update. Utility crew is on site. We're still working. I know you've been in there a long time. I'm sorry. We haven't forgotten you. Zaraya leaned toward the panel. Louise, is there anything we should do? Just hang tight, Louise replied. If anyone feels unwell, tell us immediately. Samira watched Zaraya's face as she listened. Zaraya's calm was still there, but now Samira could see effort behind it. Zaraya was choosing calm. That was different. That was real. Later, when Ed's stomach growled loudly enough to be funny, Zaraya offered the last of her snacks. Indigo insisted Samira take the bigger piece. Samira tried to refuse. Indigo gave her a look that made refusal impossible. Samira took it and said, thank you, and meant it. As the hours stretched, conversation became a kind of rope they held onto. Ed told stories about the building's early days, when it had been a department store and the elevators had operators who wore uniforms. His voice was warm, and his memories made the metal walls feel less sterile. Indigo admitted she was new to the city and terrified she'd made a mistake moving here. Zaraya asked what kind of posters she carried. Indigo brightened, explaining she worked for a small community program that put murals in unexpected places. Under bridges, on blank walls, beside parking lots. You make the city nicer, Zaraya said. Indigo blushed. I try. Samira listened, quiet, her mind unexpectedly drifting away from deadlines and toward the strange space of being stuck with people long enough to actually hear them. At some point, Zaraya shifted closer to Samira, just within a more conversational distance. Can I ask you something? She said. Samira eyed her. Depends. Zaraya smiled faintly. Why did you choose marketing? Samira opened her mouth, ready to give a polished answer about strategy and storytelling. But in the elevator, polished answers felt silly. My mom ran a small bookstore, Samira said instead. Independent. Not fancy. I used to make little signs for the windows. New arrivals. Staff pics. I liked figuring out what made people stop and come inside. Zaraya's eyes softened. That's actually lovely. Samira shrugged. It was. Until the store closed. Zaraya didn't rush to fill the silence. She just nodded, like she understood what it meant to lose a place that shaped you. Then Zaraya spoke about herself, in a way Samira hadn't expected. My dad moved a lot, Zaraya said. New towns, new schools. I learned to be adaptable, friendly. It was easier to be the helpful one than the lonely one. Samira glanced at her. So you're friendly because you had to be? Zaraya considered. Maybe. Or maybe I'm friendly because I like people, and I don't want to spend my life bracing for impact. Samira felt that phrase, bracing for impact, land inside her like Zaraya had named something Samira hadn't dared to. Do you ever get tired of being the calm one? Samira asked. Zaraya let out a breath. Yes. The honesty surprised Samira. Zaraya wasn't a poster of kindness. She was a person doing her best. Samira found herself saying, I didn't know. Zaraya tilted her head. You didn't ask. Samira couldn't argue with that. Night arrived fully, though the elevator lights refused to acknowledge it. Their phones, nearly dead, became useless rectangles. Ed slept more deeply now, head tilted against the wall. Indigo hummed softly to herself, a tune without words. Samira's body ached in unfamiliar places. She tried to roll her shoulders, relieve the tension. Zaraya noticed. Here, she said and slid her folded scarf out from around her neck. She held it out. For your neck. Or as a cushion. Samira hesitated. The scarf looked soft. It also looked like an offering of comfort, which felt dangerous. Zaraya's expression remained neutral, not pushing. No pressure. Samira took it slowly. Thanks. She folded it behind her neck and leaned back. The relief was immediate. Hours blurred. At some point, Samira drifted into a light sleep and woke with a start when the elevator speaker crackled. Elevator B, Luis said, and his voice sounded different. Brighter, edged with relief. Good news. We've restored stable power. We're going to try moving the car to the nearest floor and open the doors. Stay back from the doors, please. Samira sat up so quickly her neck protested. Zaraya was already upright. Indigo's eyes went wide. Ed startled awake. Blinking. The elevator hummed, then shivered. The floor indicator flickered back to life. The car moved. Slowly, carefully, like it was remembering how. Samira held her breath. Then came a gentle stop, a mechanical click, and the doors began to slide open. Bright hallway lights spilled in, and with it came sound. Footsteps, voices, the normal world rushing back. A maintenance worker stood there with a flashlight and a wide, apologetic smile. Luis was behind him, looking exhausted and relieved. I am so sorry, Luis said immediately. You've been in there almost a full day. We had a failure in the control system and couldn't risk moving it until we had stable power. Indigo stumbled out first, then turned and hugged Luis without thinking. Thank you, she said, voice cracking. Ed stepped out more slowly, straightening his coat. Well, he said, that was an adventure I didn't order. Zaraya helped guide them into the hallway, making sure no one tripped. Then she stepped out herself and turned back toward Samira. Samira was the last one inside. For a strange moment, she felt reluctant to leave. Not because she wanted to stay trapped, but because the elevator had become a place where everything unnecessary fell away. Zaraya held out a hand, not dramatic, just steady, offered like support stepping over a gap. Samira looked at it, then at Zaraya's face. Zaraya's eyes were tired, but warm. You okay? She asked. Samira took Zaraya's hand and stepped out. Her fingers were cool from the elevator air. The contact was simple, helpful, and, somewhere in the quiet part of Samira's mind, comforting. When Samira let go, she felt the absence of that steadiness like a gentle echo. They were escorted to a small break room on floor 4 where someone had left bottles of water and a bowl of wrapped crackers, like the building was trying to apologize with snacks. Indigo sat and drank water like she'd crossed a desert. Ed accepted a cracker and declared it surprisingly decent. Samira drank water slowly, feeling her body rejoin the normal timeline. Her phone buzzed weakly as it found service again. Missed calls, messages, a chaotic stream of work that suddenly seemed far away. Zaraya's phone lit up too. She glanced at it, then set it face down. Later, she said, mostly to herself. Samira watched her do that and felt something soften in her chest. Luis came in again. We'll file incident reports, And the company will cover any rideshare costs if you need to get home. Are you all okay medically? Everyone nodded. Zariah asked, can we take the stairs up to 12 to get our things? Luis looked pained. The elevator system will be inspected first. But the stairs are open, yes. Ed pushed himself upright. I'm going home. I've had enough vertical travel. Indigo stood. Me too. Zariah turned to Samira. What about you? Samira should have said she needed to salvage the day, to jump back into work as if being trapped for nearly 24 hours was a minor inconvenience. Instead, she surprised herself. I think I'm going home. Zariah's shoulders relaxed. Good. They walked toward the stairwell together while Indigo and Ed went the other way with Luis. The hallway was quiet. The building felt different, like a place that had swallowed a secret and was now pretending it hadn't. In the stairwell, they descended slowly, footsteps echoing. Samira said, I missed the pitch. Zariah nodded. I know. Samira waited for Zariah to offer advice or a solution. Instead, Zariah said, that's really hard. Samira swallowed. Yeah. They reached the lobby and stepped out into the bright winter day. The sun was still up, pale but steady. People passed with shopping bags, coffee cups, headphones, moving through their hours without knowing anything about the small world inside Elevator B. Zariah adjusted her scarf. She'd taken it back at some point without making it a big deal. Samira held her bag close. Thank you, she said, and the words carried more than coffee and snacks. For all of it. Zariah looked at her carefully, like she didn't want to misread the moment. You're welcome. Samira hesitated, then added, I was unfair to you. Zariah's mouth tilted into a small smile. You were. But you were also honest in there. That matters. Samira exhaled. Do you want to? She stopped, annoyed at herself for suddenly not knowing how to speak like a normal person. Do you want to get coffee sometime? Not elevator coffee. Actual coffee. Somewhere with chairs we choose. Zariah's eyes brightened. I'd like that. They stood for a moment, two co-workers who had spent nearly a day in a metal box, now blinking at the world like it was new. Zariah turned slightly, preparing to head toward the bus stop. Samira said, Zariah? Zariah looked back. Yeah. Samira paused, then said the truest thing she could manage without turning it into something dramatic. I don't want us to hate each other anymore. Zariah's expression softened in a way that made Samira's chest feel strangely light. Me neither, Zariah said. We can start over. Samira nodded. Let's. They parted ways with a simple wave. No big gestures, no sweeping promises. Just the quiet understanding that something had shifted. Not because the elevator trapped them. Because, for once, they'd stayed long enough to actually see each other.